Have you ever caught yourself replaying the same memory of someone over and over? A conversation, a smile, a goodbye. You tell yourself to stop, but the thought returns like an echo you can't escape. That's the trap of emotional attachment. It feels like the other person still holds the strings to your peace of mind, even when they're not there. The Stoics understood this struggle well. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor surrounded by betrayal and loss, reminded himself daily that nothing outside his own mind could truly harm him. Epictetus, born a slave, taught that freedom doesn't depend on others. It depends on mastering ourselves. And what's remarkable is that 2,000 years later, modern psychology says the same thing. Our suffering often comes not from what happens, but from how tightly we cling to it. If you're exhausted by holding on, if you want the ability to care without being consumed, then you're about to learn 5 Stoic rules that will show you how to emotionally detach from someone, not by suppressing love, but by reclaiming your strength. Detachment doesn't mean shutting down your heart or pretending you don't care. The Stoics never taught us to become cold statues. What they taught is something far more powerful: to love and connect without surrendering our peace of mind. Epictetus put it clearly: when you kiss your child, whisper to yourself, "Tomorrow they may die." At first glance, this sounds harsh, even cruel. But what he meant is that every bond in life is temporary. If we remember this, we love more deeply, not less, because we no longer take others for granted. At the same time, we stop clinging in desperation when change comes. Modern therapy echoes this wisdom. Emotional attachment often grows unhealthy when our identity becomes entangled with another person's presence or approval. That's when pain turns into obsession. The Stoic solution is not to cut off love, but to cultivate freedom alongside it. In this video, we'll explore 8 Stoic rules that will help you detach with clarity, self-respect, and strength. These are not abstract theories. They are practical tools, tested by philosophers and confirmed by psychology, to help you let go without losing yourself. Law 1. Distinguish what's in your control. Epictetus began his philosophy with a single truth: some things are up to us, and some things are not. This might sound simple, but it's the very foundation of emotional detachment. Why? Because most of our suffering comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. When you're attached to someone, notice where your mind goes. You want them to act a certain way. You replay what they said, wishing they'd spoken differently. You cling to the hope that they'll return, or regret, or change. But none of these things belong to you. They lie in the realm of fortune, fate, or another person's will. And the more you chase them, the more powerless you feel. What belongs to you, the Stoics remind us, is far smaller but infinitely stronger. Your judgments, your actions, your choices. You cannot stop someone from leaving, but you can choose not to abandon your dignity. You cannot erase memories, but you can reframe them. You cannot make someone love you, but you can live a way that earns your own respect. Cognitive behavioral therapy, which draws directly from Stoicism, confirms this. Clients are taught to spot distorted thoughts such as, "I can't live without them," and replace them with balanced truths like, "I don't control them, but I do control my response." The moment you make this shift, the emotional grip loosens. Detachment is not suppression. You still feel sadness, longing, even anger, but you no longer mistake those feelings for commands. You see them for what they are, natural impulses you can choose how to respond to. Freedom begins when you draw a clear boundary. This belongs to me. That does not. In every relationship, remind yourself, their actions are theirs, my response is mine. The first step in Stoic detachment is to reclaim the only kingdom that truly belongs to you, your own mind. Law 2. See people as mortals, not possessions. One of the most misunderstood teachings of Stoicism is Epictetus' reminder. When you kiss your child, say to yourself, "Tomorrow they may die." At first glance, it sounds cruel or heartless, but in truth, it is one of the most compassionate practices the Stoics offered. It teaches us to see people as they truly are, temporary, fragile, and beyond our ownership. Attachment often turns painful because we begin to treat others as permanent fixtures in our lives, as if they were possessions guaranteed to remain. We say my partner, my friend, my family. But the word my can become a chain. The Stoics remind us that we never own another person. We can enjoy their company, love them deeply, even cherish every moment, but we cannot demand that they stay forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the shortness of life. He urged himself to love his daughter and his friends while remembering they were loaned to him by nature, not given permanently. This awareness does not weaken love, it intensifies it. When you realize someone may be gone tomorrow, you stop taking today for granted. Love becomes more present, more genuine, and paradoxically, less desperate. Modern psychology calls this practice acceptance. By acknowledging impermanence, we reduce the shock when separation eventually comes. Instead of clinging in denial, we prepare our minds to let go with grace. Detachment doesn't mean not caring. It means not deceiving ourselves about life's fragility. Try this exercise. When you're with someone, silently remind yourself that they are mortal like you, not to frighten yourself, but to deepen gratitude. This mindset creates a healthier form of love, one based on appreciation, not possession. To detach emotionally, you must first see people clearly, not as property, not as guarantees, but as fellow travelers on a brief journey. You cannot hold them forever. You can only walk alongside them while life allows. Law 3. Reframe loss as natural, not personal. When someone leaves your life, your first reaction might be, why me? What did I do wrong? That question chains you to pain, because it assumes that every loss is a personal attack. The Stoics taught us to see it differently. Loss is not a punishment. It is part of the natural order. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything changes. The seasons, the empires, even the stars. So why should we expect our relationships to remain fixed forever? When a person departs, whether by choice or by fate, it is not necessarily because of some failure in us. It is because everything in nature is transient. Epictetus advised his students to view life like a banquet. When a dish is set before you, enjoy it fully. But when it is taken away, do not grab or complain. Simply accept that the host has moved on. This doesn't mean you should be cold or indifferent. It means you should recognize that people come and go, and their presence was never yours to command. Modern psychology echoes this lesson through cognitive reframing. Instead of telling yourself, they abandoned me, you reframe the thought. This separation is part of life's constant change. That shift doesn't erase sadness, but it prevents sadness from turning into bitterness. Try this practice. When thinking about someone who left, picture the cycle of nature. Leaves fall, rivers shift, clouds pass. Their absence is not unnatural. It belongs to the same law that governs everything. By seeing it this way, you place loss within a larger picture, not as a cruel exception, but as the rule of existence. Detachment grows when you stop taking loss personally. You stop seeing it as a story of your inadequacy, and start seeing it as the rhythm of life. In this rhythm, your task is not to cling, but to flow, to remain steady, dignified, and open to what comes next. Law 4. Master your inner dialogue. The Stoics believed that our greatest suffering doesn't come from external events, but from the stories we tell ourselves about them. Epictetus put it simply, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. This truth becomes crucial when you're trying to detach from someone. After separation, notice the constant chatter in your mind. You replay conversations. If only I had said this, they would have stayed. You invent meanings. They left because I wasn't enough. You catastrophize. I'll never find anyone like them again. Each of these thoughts intensifies pain, not because they're true, but because you believe them uncritically. The Stoic solution is to master your inner dialogue. You become a philosopher of your own thoughts, questioning them instead of obeying them. Marcus Aurelius filled his journal with reminders to himself, challenging fears and recentering on reason. He didn't write to impress others. He wrote to keep his mind disciplined. Modern CBT applies the same method. Therapists encourage clients to identify distorted thoughts and ask, is this thought accurate? Is it helpful? What evidence supports it? For example, instead of repeating, I can't live without them, you might reframe, I feel pain now, but I've survived pain before, and I can survive this too. Practical exercise. When a painful thought arises, write it down, then challenge it with a Stoic question. Does this thought concern something within my control or outside it? If outside, discard it. If within, ask, what is the most rational response available to me right now? Detachment requires this vigilance. You cannot stop thoughts from appearing, but you can choose whether to entertain them. The Stoics compared the mind to a citadel. Enemies may approach the walls, but whether they enter depends on the guards at the gate. Your inner dialogue is the guard. Train it well, and you'll keep destructive stories out. To detach emotionally, you must learn this discipline. Never trust the first story your mind tells you. Test it, refine it, replace it with truth. Law 5. Practice voluntary discomfort. One of the most powerful Stoic techniques for emotional detachment is training the mind to endure discomfort willingly. Seneca advised, set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself, is this the condition that I feared? Why did the Stoics practice this? Because much of our attachment to people comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of rejection, fear of emptiness. When you confront these fears deliberately, they lose their power. Think of someone who has left your life. The thought of facing nights without their voice or days without their presence may feel unbearable. But what happens if you choose, for a moment, to sit with that discomfort instead of fleeing it? You discover that the pain is survivable. More than that, you realize it begins to lose its sharpness when met directly. Modern psychology uses similar exposure techniques. In CBT, clients are gradually exposed to the situations or feelings they fear, learning that the anticipation is often worse than the reality. By practicing solitude, silence, or even brief social fasting, you build resilience. Try this exercise. Dedicate one evening to being alone without distractions. No phone, no music, no conversations, just you, your thoughts, and a journal. At first, unease will surface, but write it down, observe it. You'll notice that the discomfort, while real, does not destroy you. In fact, it teaches you that you can carry your own company. The Stoics understood that freedom comes when you stop being terrified of discomfort. Once you've proven to yourself that you can live without constant reassurance, you become harder to chain emotionally. Detachment isn't about never caring. It's about knowing that you'll remain whole even when care is not returned. By practicing voluntary discomfort, you weaken the grip of fear, and in doing so, you reclaim the independence of your spirit. Law 6. Use negative visualization to loosen attachment. The Stoics practiced a mental exercise called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of loss. Instead of avoiding thoughts of separation, they deliberately imagined them. Epictetus advised his students, when you kiss your child, whisper to yourself, tomorrow they may die. To modern ears this sounds harsh, but the aim was not despair, it was preparation. Why? Because attachment binds us tightly to expectations. We assume someone will always be there, so when they leave, we feel shattered. Negative visualization trains us to loosen that bond before life does it for us. By imagining loss while the person is still present, you reduce shock and dependency. Here's how it works. Take a quiet moment and picture life without the person you're attached to. Feel the sadness that rises. Then remind yourself, this is natural, this is possible, and I can endure it. When you return to the present, you'll often find your appreciation for them has deepened. Instead of clinging, you love more freely, knowing nothing is guaranteed. Modern psychology uses similar techniques. In CBT, clients are encouraged to confront feared scenarios mentally. The more you rehearse facing loss, the less catastrophic it feels. Anticipation becomes training rather than torment. A practical exercise. Each morning, choose one person in your life and remind yourself quietly, they are mortal. They may not be here tomorrow. Don't use this to darken your mood. Use it to sharpen gratitude. Each interaction then becomes a gift, not a possession. When separation eventually comes, it still hurts, but the hurt is cleaner, lighter, less consuming. You've already practiced letting go in your mind. Detachment doesn't mean denying love. It means loving with open hands rather than clenched fists. Negative visualization helps you loosen the grip of attachment and face reality with dignity. Law 7. Anchor yourself in virtue, not in people. The Stoics believed that the only true good lies in virtue, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control. Everything else, including relationships, is indifferent. Not worthless, but not the foundation of a good life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you anchor your happiness in another person, you build on shifting sand. Their moods, choices, and presence lie outside your control. The moment they change or depart, your emotional world collapses. The Stoic remedy is to root yourself in what cannot be taken away, your character. Imagine two ships at sea. One is tethered to another ship, drifting wherever the other sails. The second anchors itself firmly in the seabed. Storms may come, but it holds steady. This is the difference between dependence and virtue. Modern psychology supports this. In CBT, clients learn to shift their values from external validation to internal principles. Instead of saying, I need their love to feel worthy, you reframe. My worth is measured by living according to my values, not by their approval. This shift builds resilience. Practical exercise. Each evening, reflect not on how others treated you, but on how you acted. Did you show patience, integrity, honesty? By tracking virtue instead of affection received, you strengthen the habit of self-grounding. Detachment does not mean withdrawing from relationships. It means participating in them without surrendering your identity. You can love deeply while remembering that your ultimate goal is to live virtuously. If someone leaves, you still have your compass intact. The Stoics remind us, fortune can strip away wealth, status, even companionship. But virtue remains yours, unshakable, unstealable. To detach emotionally, you must choose this foundation. Anchor yourself not in people, but in the steady strength of character. Law 8. Practice the view from above. The Stoics often used a powerful visualization called the view from above. Marcus Aurelius described it vividly in his meditations. Imagine rising above the earth, looking down at cities, crowds, and the endless movement of people. From this higher vantage point, individual troubles shrink and perspective returns. Why is this important for detachment? Because when you're emotionally entangled with someone, your world contracts around them. Their absence feels like the collapse of everything. But in truth, they are one person among billions, one chapter in a much larger story. The view from above helps you remember that. Picture it. You're standing on a hill, watching the lights of an entire city flicker. Every window contains lives, joys, sorrows, loves, and losses. Yours is just one among them. This exercise doesn't belittle your pain. It places it in proportion. You begin to see that your suffering, while real, is not the end of the world. Modern psychology mirrors this in what's called cognitive diffusion, the ability to step back from thoughts and see them in context. Instead of drowning in the thought, I can't live without them, you observe it as just one small voice within a vast mental landscape. By creating distance, the thought loses its grip. A practical exercise. When overwhelmed by longing or grief, close your eyes and imagine rising above your town, your country, the whole planet. See humanity as a vast flow of birth, love, and loss. Then remind yourself, I am part of this flow. My pain is real, but it is not unique. And like all things, it will pass. This perspective cultivates humility and strength. You realize that life continues beyond any single relationship. You are not defined solely by who stays or who leaves, but by how you participate in the greater human story. Detachment grows naturally from perspective. The higher you rise in thought, the smaller the chains of personal obsession appear. Practicing the view from above restores balance, reminding you that while loss may wound you, it cannot destroy you, because you are part of something infinitely larger. If you follow these 8 Stoic laws, you now hold a toolkit that emperors, philosophers, and even modern psychologists have relied upon for centuries. But wisdom alone won't change your life. Action will. The Stoics didn't study philosophy to sound clever. They studied it to live better. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that philosophy was about practice, not words. Epictetus told his students, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And that's your challenge now. Maybe right now, you're holding on to someone who no longer holds on to you. Maybe you wake up replaying their absence, or you fear that without them, you'll collapse. But pause and remember, every thought you've heard today is a tool to loosen those chains. You can distinguish what's in your control. You can reframe loss as natural. You can master your inner dialogue, practice voluntary discomfort, and shift your anchor from people to virtue. Each law is not abstract. It is an action you can take today. So here's your task. Choose one law and practice it before this day ends. Journal your thoughts. Sit with discomfort. Try the view from above. Don't wait for detachment to magically arrive. Train for it, step by step. And as you do, remember this. Detachment is not the death of love. It is the birth of freedom. It means you can care without being consumed. You can lose without being lost. You can love others fully because you are no longer enslaved by fear of their absence. If this message resonates, don't let it fade when the video ends. Live it. And if you're ready to continue this journey, subscribe. Share this with someone who needs it, and keep practicing Stoic wisdom daily. Your peace of mind is not a gift from others. It is a discipline, a craft, and a choice. Reclaim it. The Stoics showed you how. Now it's your turn to walk their path.